evening, everybody, and Happy New Year to you. You may notice I'm not in this shed tonight. Just a quick explanation. Basically, stripped out the shed during Christmas in order to change things around. Haven't quite rebuilt the studio. So I'm in the office, as you can no doubt see, which is where we were last week with the green screen and the pub effect. How are we all doing anyway? Now, coming up today, I have been sent a few videos of a couple of viewers' plot tours. Chance to have a look at them, see what they're going to be looking at the beginning of the year, and um, well, in 3 months' time, we'll keep looking at it. So, is anybody actually out there? First of all, let's have a look. I know Ballycillian is out there. He's looking forward to seeing people's plots over this coming year. Oracle, hello, Army. Hello to you. Hope you are well. Philly SBB has joined. Hello to you. Hope you are well. Sean James Cameron has joined. Good evening to you. Hope you are well, and Happy New Year to you too. Stephen Moscow, hello to you. Hope you are well, and Happy New Year. Turbo Stream, good evening, Army. Did we all make it to 2022? I think it's safe to say we did make it to 2022. Well, I certainly hope we have all anyway. What else have we got? Great to have you back, Sean. I've been watching your channel. Lovely year review. Yeah, lovely video there. I'm hoping the weather will improve. I'm certainly hoping the weather will improve. My garden is like a quagmire at the moment. So covered in mud and rain. It's awful. Stuart Jackson has joined. Good evening to you and Happy New Year to all from Stuart. Cornish Heaven, evening all and Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. Anna Jones, hello Richard, hello Gardeners, good evening to you and Happy New Year to you. Ernie has joined. New Year's greetings. How was your meal with Mr. Vobes on Christmas Day? Any gossip you would like to share? You know what, it was absolutely lovely. Hate the idea of anybody being on their own at Christmas Day. He came round, we had a good laugh, he told us a few stories. It was fantastic. Only got and caught the dreaded lurgy from Grove Veg, confined to my cell until further notice. Oh, sorry to hear that. I hope you feel well soon. What else? Hargrave Gas has joined. Evening, everyone. Here's to a great 2022. Sean, that's a crisp picture. New camera. No, I've had this camera about 6 months now. I don't usually use it in the studio, but that's because everything's usually set up so I can just turn it on. This is just my normal video camera that also doubles as a web camera. But I quite like it, I've got to say. Ernie, what's happened? Is everything okay? Let's hope so. Digwell, hi all, Happy New Year. Beatrice, hi everyone, all the best for 2022. Hello, Happy New Year from Alison. Lovely to see you. Sorry about the video of my patch. I did the wrong one way up. Next week, hopefully. Sorry, Stuart. I didn't realize. I was going to say I didn't think I had a video from you. That's right. We'll have it next week. I think there's going to be a few more people filling it in next week as well. Rebecca has joined. Good evening to you. Hope you are well. Valinda has joined. Hello to you. Haven't seen you for a while. Hope you are well. Stuart Jackson. Oh, read that one. Ian Beddoes. Good evening all and a happy new gardening year. Indeed. Happy new gardening year to everyone. Now, what have I been up to since we were last on the show? Not very much, to be honest. I've actually had the week off work, but by the time I call up with friends and family, the week just seems to disappear. Evenings are just so dark, doesn't leave much time. And as I kind of hinted at earlier, our weather down here on the south coast has pretty much been full of rain. And the garden, because I'm on clay, it just creates a horrible muddy mess, which is really annoying. So I've not been able to do much actually outside in the garden, but what I have been doing, and you'll see this better next week when we're back out in the podding shed. I've emptied pretty much everything out of the podding shed, and I've rebuilt the worktops and the benches. You may recall to my left, I had a large shelving unit with grow lights on it. That's now gone. I've taken that out. purely because I was getting annoyed with the lights affecting the show. And what I decided, I had some old kitchen units and some old worktops that were sitting there taking up space. I've decided I'm using those, made an L-shaped bench in there, which works really nice. All the live show equipment is going to go in there. I've got a fridge in there again. I had a fridge, an old fridge, and that's going to be for storing my seeds. I find that to be a really good way of keeping seeds constant temperature, dry, sticking them in an old fridge. And what else have I been doing? That's about it, really. I've everything that I've emptied out there. I'm on a bit of a sort out. I'm a bit of a hoarder, I don't mind saying. I tend to hold on to a lot of rubbish. And as I was pulling stuff out of this shed, I've been deciding whether I need to keep it or not. And there's been things, I've got a million bottles of plant food and fertilizer, million like old vegetable bags that are just filled with compost and used. They don't get used. And I'm deciding as they go back in, they may not go back in, they may go to the tip. Kind of had enough of holding on to rubbish like that. Hopefully tomorrow we'll get it all finished off, but instead, well, we'll find out tomorrow on the podcast how I've got on with that. So that's what I've been up to over this last week. Let me know what you guys have been doing in your own allotment, your own garden over this last week. Where were we with the comments? So Oracle, don't worry, Stuart, as long as you're here, mate. Indeed. We want to see you, more importantly. Beatrice, alas, no pictures from me. Haven't been to the plot since Christmas, understandably. But keep posting the pictures, keep sending them in, and we will show them throughout the year as always. Turbo Strip, I visited the plot today. It's very wet down there. No point trying to garden at the moment. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. That's kind of how I feel. It's just been so wet and horrible. Oh, this sounds posh, talking about my shed. Not really. It's old kitchen units that I've just held on to because I knew they were going to come in use at some point. They've been sat in my garage, and I've got myself a camper van, and we're trying to get that in the garage. So I'm having to clear out the garage so I can get the garage door replaced and fit my camper van in there. Richard Vobes has joined. Good evening to you. Hope you are well. Sean, what are you sowing? I don't have lights, so I won't be in a rush to start. So what will I be sowing? So I'll be sowing chilies, aubergines, because I find they need a really long growing period. Herbs, parsley, coriander. I find both of those sow better when sown around this time of year, in the cooler times of the year. I think I've got some rhubarb seeds I'm going to be sowing, microgreens. Spinach, probably be doing a bit of spinach, and celery and celeriac. I'm just looking at my notes over there to find out what I've been sowing. So there's a few things that we can sow. Obviously, I recognise I'm lucky in that I have grow lights, but there's still things that we can sow. Broad beans outside is another thing that is worth sowing as well. Rebecca, I always say if you don't love it, it's time to toss it. That's quite a good idea, actually. I think I'm adopting more of a just get rid of it attitude, especially since we just kind of had enough of holding on to stuff that we don't use. Trouble is, this house really is too big for just me and my wife, and we've got so much room that it just gets filled with stuff. So we're on the attitude that it's got to go. The man, the myth, the legend, Phobes, hello. Yeah, indeed, he is joined. Cornish Heaven, home base of great seed bundles, and they are a huge discount. Buy one, get one free. I'm hearing that. I'm also hearing that there's some deals going on with compost at Dobby's and Wix's. So I haven't headed down to those lately, but apparently some good deals to be had if you're around. Turbo Stream, I sowed a few lettuce seeds on damp toilet paper today, really to see if they are viable. Yeah, that's a good way, actually. I do like seeds are another thing I tend to hold on to. I end up with so many seeds that I just think, what's the point of holding on to them when they get out of date? As you saw my seed box a few weeks ago, it was just full and round of seeds. Again, I'm adopting an attitude that I've either got to use it up or it's got to go. I got grow lights for Christmas. Do I start using them before the seed shoots? Also, when do I turn them off? Right, so what I do with my grow lights, I have them on a timer that comes on at 8 o'clock in the morning and turns off at 8 o'clock at night. So you get about 12 hours. You could probably go 16 hours is probably better, but I find 12 hours is fine. You don't really need them before the seeds shoot. They don't really need light. It's only when they start to shoot that you need light. So I start my seeds off mostly in a heated propagator in somewhere where they don't get light. As soon as they shoot, I move them into another heated propagator where they then get the grow lights. And as they grow and they get moved along, I've got like a production line when it comes to seed sowing based off these grow lights, using them as and when they are needed. The thing you've got to remember with grow lights, you need to get them quite close to the seedlings, especially when they're very young. Otherwise, the seedlings become a bit leggy. They stretch for the light. So if you can get them close to the seeds as possible, all the better for it. And as they grow, move them up and up. A camper van. Yeah. So camper van is going to be part of our way that we can go around the country, visit gardens, visit people's allotments, visit people's gardens, so and go to shows and things like that as well. More on that as we get everything finalized and we can actually see if we can sleep in the camper van, more importantly. Been clearing brambles, laying wood chip ready for the new 6x3 meter chicken run. Replaced wood chip on some of the veg garden paths. I've noticed my allotment has started having wood chip delivered again, which is fantastic. I've got to pay to use it, but I think I cancelled chips. So much wood chip, why not put it to use? And also, getting chickens. Everyone knows I love having my chickens in the garden. They have been such a fantastic addition. I think they just really do help with creating a brilliant vegetable garden. Spend the morning at the plot, washing all my plots, trays and propagators and the 30-litre pots I grow potatoes in. Sowed some onion seed. Fantastic. Yeah, that's all things that I think this time of year, when it is dark, when it is cold, we can be doing. Pots, trays, propagators being washed out. What I personally like to do, a simple little trick for an easy way to wash your pots. I think I've said this before. Put them outside, put a cane through the stick, hold them so they're pinned down into the ground and let the rain wash them out. Very, very simple, very, very easy to do and good enough. When would you start onions from seed? Don't have grow lights. So onions you can actually get away with sowing from sort of December onwards without the need of grow lights. They do need to be somewhere with plenty of light. An unheated greenhouse will do. Onions are pretty hardy and they don't need a huge amount of light when they're young. So if you've got a greenhouse, sow them in there. If not, a windowsill will do. Like I say, you can do that from December onwards. I have got some onions that I need to sow. So yeah, go for it. We want to see the camper van. Well, I can't show you it now because it's outside and I'm not outside, I'm afraid to say. Been to Bidford to collect 74 bags of compost, reduced from £8.45, £1 a bag. Organic, 5-hour round trip, but worth the drive. Yeah, I mean, you spent £74 on bat and compost. That would have cost you, I can't work it out off the top of my head, a lot of money, a lot more. You're talking in the hundreds, I think, there. So that's definitely worth a saving. Stream has continued to paint his pallet compost bin this week. We've got a video coming up from him in a bit as well. B&Q, they have compost for £2.50 a bag. It's not peat-free, though. Yeah, I think they're trying to get rid of peat-free compost, which is why it's on their discount. I've gone peat-free, but at the moment, while it's cheap, it's got to be used up. It's not like they're going to be digging any more up. It might as well be used up. Digwell, having a massive clear out of seeds yet again, gradually getting my favourites sorted. So a lot of clearing out of seeds, something that we have to do quite often. I brought a load of 50-litre bags of compost from B&Q, £2.50 a bag. There we go. I vote for that too with the Richard. What's that? Seeing the camper. I can't show you it at the moment. next week. Thanks. I'm hoping they're going to give me a head start this year, as I have popped my charity target up to £2,000 this year. No problem. That's the tip I gave on using grow lights to Stuart earlier. Sold a camper van and brought a fast getaway car from Ian Beddoes. Yes, your ledger battery that you gave me has come into use in a much different way than what I thought it was going to do. Hopefully I'll use my camper more this year. Plan to head south when the days lengthen. You have been warned. Always welcome. Mornings at the allotment. Almost missed it. Hello, everyone. Cheers, Rebecca. Hello to you. Hope you are well. Shuddering to think of the day we go peat-free in 2024. This is a conversation I think we've had before. Peat-free, mixed results. We're going to be testing it out this week and seeing how they get on. But peat-free, mixed results, I think it's safe to say. But it is the way we are going. Now, but first of all, I want to show you some photos that have been sent to me from a young lady. I don't know if she's in the audience. I've been sitting on these for a couple of weeks, so we're meant to go up. I haven't had many photos over the last couple of weeks, so it's been quite nice. Laura, thank you so much for sending me these photos. So first of all, Laura has sent in, I can't see it great, is it, on this setup, this Brussels sprout with Brussels growing. They look fantastic. These were before Christmas, I think. So what's some tasty looking Brussels sprouts. Next is beautiful cabbage. Also looks absolutely fantastic and a nice size, I've got to say. A cauliflower, and I think this is the purple cauliflower. The reason I know that is I'll come to in a moment. And finally, I think this is a radicchio. It could be a cabbage, but I think it's radicchio. Also looks rather pleasant. That's the last photo that I've got for you this week. Let's get rid of that. The reason I know where they're from is that she did mention that they were from the Veg Grower Podcast Supporters Club and the seeds that she's sown from that. So just goes to show how fantastic it is. Shall we get into our first video of somebody sharing their let me get my words out. A plot tour. And this one has came in from Turbo Stream, who's in the audience tonight.
So this is the green Pasilia, green manure.
Loxie.
That's doing okay. That'll last the overwinter now for the rest of up until about March, I suppose. I'll maybe, I don't know, I'm not totally sure when to dig that in, or I'll probably just trim it down actually. But anyway, that's that. We've got the 2 rows of parsnips, which all the foliage has died down. And we've got some overwintering broad beans. They're really just for green manure. The last of the leeks, they've all gone to pot, so they'll get dug up at some point. There's still a few beetroots, I think, in there up there, so go and have a look at those. There's still a few beetroots in here, but whether I'll use those up or those go in the compost heap, I don't know, I'm not sure. Anyway, that's the one square. Let's go on to the next one. So this is the second bottom square. So you can see there I've got the gooseberries, which I transferred from home. There's 2 there. There's also a small one just where that hoop is. That was transferred from somewhere else on the plot. And then we've got rhubarb there, which is, I moved a few crowns into there in the autumn. That is compost bin. Got what it was then. That is my plastic leaf mould bin, which is still upright. I'm glad after all the storms. This is the brassica bed, that's all finished. This will become soft fruit. This is the strawberry bed which I made, which she hasn't really taken, I don't think, so I maybe do something else with that. Maybe I'll put some black currants in there or something. This is a rhubarb bed. I'll put the crowns in there in the autumn, so we'll see if they come up. And then there's some more strawberries at the back. They're going to get tidied up, and that'll be a compost area eventually when I finish the compost bin I'm making. This is, I'm not totally sure what I'm going to do with this bed next year. I haven't quite decided. But you can see the mulch is still there, hasn't blown off. And I'm surprised how quickly the leaves have started to break down actually. A few weeks ago I top dressed them with leaves. This is a nice thick mulch of leaves I put down. As you can see, I think they've started to break down already. I'm quite impressed. This is a row of raspberries. They've all died down for the winter now, so those are autumn fruiting raspberries, so they'll get cut down towards the end of the winter. I'll let them, probably cut them down in about March. Take the tops off and they can then regrow. And this is the main strawberry bed, which I've mulched. That's had 2 or 3 mulches. So those have all started to get yellow, but they'll pick up hopefully in the spring. The rest of the bed is flowers at the top. I'm not sure what to do. Everything will get mulched before the end of the winter. I'll get some more leaves. I'm going to take up the remaining dead flowers. This part will get tidied up in the spring and mulched, and then probably all flowers possibly. These 2 are gooseberries next to the shed. I've tidied these up a lot. They need a bit more tidying up. They need to be weeded and thinned out before they start to regrow. I've chopped the tops off quite a lot, cut them right back. They were quite overgrown. And that's next to the shed there, look. And just to the left of the shed is another place I'm working on. Started to lay a few slabs down to tidy this area up. The tarpaulins to keep the earth there dry because they make a small flower bed. This is the compost bin. That's the place to store junk at the moment. There is compost under there, which will get sifted for the spring. And this is the view of the plot from left to right from the other corner. It's quite a grey day today. It's quite cold. It's 4 degrees. My hands are freezing. So that is Turbo Stream's allotment for the end of 2021. Let's hope 2022 is a lot better.
Well, thank you very much for that Turbo Stream. I've got to say, what a lovely load of, what a lovely looking plot. Even though it's quite bare at the moment, seeing all those leaves and that magic that it's working, it's just fantastic to see, I've got to say. And it does, I feel, just show how good a mulch is. Everybody knows I love a good mulch. I've really got into mulching, particularly using a grass mulch. Now, I'm just putting the link up if anybody does want to zap themselves into the show and appear on the screen. Unfortunately, I haven't got the phone up and working this week because I'm not in the correct studio. Yeah, if you do want to zap yourself in, the link has gone up. Now, we had a few comments in that time. So what have we got here? Where was the last one? Where was the last one? Where was the last? Where quite a few, wasn't there? I think. Adrian, hi, hello to you. Hi, sorry I'm late. I feel like total crap. Oh, hope you feel well soon. I hear a lot of people are feeling ill tonight. Sean says beautiful. Indeed, it was a beautiful looking plot. Mornings at the allotment. You can always stock up seed, but honestly, I've never used peat on my compost on my plot, and you've seen I'm successful. I think it's mainly about focusing on compost. Yeah, I think this is a debate. I've found I'm going to be testing different peat-free composts this year. I think I've said, and I want to see because there are differences. I don't care what anybody say. There are differences. I have found some peat-based compost or peat-free compost, sorry, to be good, and some to be very poor. We'll find out about that this year. Rebecca is saying something absolutely lovely. As we were all busy on the quiz on New Year's Eve, I never got a chance to say massive thank you to you, Richard, and this lovely garden community we have on here. I've learned so much since joining on. Well, it's all about everyone joining in and being like gardeners are, sharing little bit of tidbits of information. And that's what I want this show to be about. We have a chat, we share little bits of information, and we all do our best to get along. I'm laughing at I'm laughing at here, thinking of you and Richard Vobes out and about in a van. Some banter will be going on there. P.S. What was the mince pies like? We want the truth. So, I should explain to everybody who perhaps doesn't know. Richard Vobes, who is the Bald Explorer, a good friend of mine. He also does his own YouTube channel, and he was on this show actually a few weeks ago. You may remember him. He joined me for Christmas Day. And he brought some mince pies round. They were absolutely delicious, gotta say. Not as good as mine, but they were delicious, I've gotta say. Mine were better. I haven't made any this year, so I'll go and say that. Cornish Evans saved £700 on compost. That includes fuel costs. As I bought 43 from Bodmin 2 a couple of days ago, £700 to save on compost is a huge saving indeed. What else have we got? So, mornings. Oh, hey there, Shane James. I came in late, so didn't realise you were here. I grow without lights as well. Thankfully, I have good light in the living room, though. Yeah, I think that's a very good message about you don't necessarily need grow lights. The only reason I have them is my shed has no lights, and I built it for that reason. And all my windows are sort of west and east facing, so we don't get good light. But if you can get good light, you don't really need the grow lights, in my opinion. What else have we got? My broad beans have got flowers on them. I'm not surprised at that, actually. I do find at this time of year, broad beans do start to flower sometimes. They might produce beans, but they probably won't. And it seems like because we go for a cold spell and then all of a sudden we get this warm spell, they start to think, oh, it's time to flower, and they start to flower. They probably won't last long, in all honesty, and they very much won't turn into beans unless you hand pollinate them. But to be honest, I wouldn't worry about it. They will reflower back in about March time and produce broad beans back then. I did use lights a few years ago, but I found they got too big and it was still too cold to put them outside. That's the downside of grow lights. It's all about, I feel, using your own judgment and playing around. If you've got a greenhouse, then all the better. Richard Lewis, hello to you. Sorry I'm late, kids demanding food. For those that don't know, Richard Lewis is a creator of vegplotter. Is it .co.uk or .com? An online plotting, planning software. So I highly recommend you go and check that out. A brilliant piece of software, and relates to next week when we're going to be talking about how we all go about planning our allotments and creating our own planner. Digwell Green Fingers. The trouble is, Rebecca, the peat-free stuff here is unreliable. Sometimes all woolly, sometimes all tree trunks. 1 in 10 bags, not too bad. Same variety, same supplier. Yeah, I agree with that. I have found that some peat-free compost is very unreliable and very poor. Some peat-free compost is good. So we'll be, like I say, we're going to be testing it. But I do think as peat is being phased out, they will have to up their game and get better and better at it because the demand will be there. I am sowing the aubergines and chili peppers now because they simply need a longer season. Our living room thermostat will be set at a lower temperature once they germinate, though. I agree. Yeah, I always do aubergines and chilies December, January, February. Not much point after that because I find they just don't get long enough to grow. And I do like my chilies. I also quite like my aubergines, but my chilies definitely. Rebecca, I also agree with Digwell. I've been having all different sorts of results with peat-free compost. Not found a favourite yet. Yeah, I've not found a favourite just yet, but it is a lot of trouble with it. There's a lot of different ones that we have to try. I'm planning. This is why I'm planning an experiment this year to try different peat-free compost and see what is good. What else have we got? It's not ideal here in Germany either. I use the coconut stuff, Koya, I think it's called, for seed sowing. Then later on, potting on, I use my own compost where I can. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for using your own compost, providing you can get it so there's no seeds or weeds germinating in it, of course. Let's have a look. Sean O'Brien has joined. Good evening to you. Thanks, Turbo Stream, for that video. Alison, it looks amazing, Turbo. Puts my backyard to shame. Thanks, everyone. Hopefully, it'll be easier to work out next year. The trouble with peat-free trial is that even bags of the same make are so variable. I agree. Yeah, I'm just trying to be a little bit trying to experiment. What else have I got? Adrian saying everything is so disrupted. These holidays are going on too long. Yeah. Bill and Vel, been to the plot today. Very wet, plenty of water lane. I think you would have got stuck again. So Bill and Vel and I are on the same allotment plot. And last year I got my van stuck in the mud. So that's why I've not taken the van down there. Well, if I do take it down, I'll park at the entrance where it's solid. But yeah, I guessed it was very wet. I haven't been down there for a couple of weeks, so I'm going to go down there. Might pop down there tomorrow, but probably next weekend, I imagine, when I will pop up there again and just see things. What else have we got? I think so. TurboStream says his broad beans were planted for green manure to add to the compost heap. Was using up old seed seeds, so it didn't cost anything. I think that is the comments called Hapon. Oh no, it's just one from Sean. I use John Innes seed compost and work up through the range until they are in the garden. I use John Innes seed compost as well. I actually find it very, very good. And I used to work through the range, but now I don't bother. I just start seed compost onto multi-purpose, and then when we get outside, just my homemade compost, which is usually pretty good. Now, I have got another video from somebody else, and he sent me 2 videos of his allotment. So let's have a quick look at this next one. You can probably guess who it is from the outset.
Don't believe it just started raining. So look at that sheeting across. Oh dear. Every time I open the front door it rains. Well, here we are then, guys. I finally managed to get up here when it's not raining and not get soaked through. Three times now. Well, there's my plot there. This is the leaf and ground site. It's only a small plot. 7 metres wide, 14 metres long. I've done it all no dig, cardboard down first on top of the bare soil and loads of compost on top of that. And I've done it in, I think it's about 20 beds, and we'll walk you down there. Harry the Hawkeye and his mate trying to scare the pigeons off. Like any deterrent, they've been there so long now the pigeons are used to them. So what I've been doing is putting chilli powder and chilli flakes and whole chilies down. We're on the side of a hill, that's why it's so blooming windy. And right over there, that's the other side of the River Severn. So a bit of a microclimate really. The wind howls up the Severn and we get the worst of it here. In fact, it used to be called Windway's Nursery. And now, up the top there, that's the leaf and ground garden centre, cafe, bistro, everything. Brilliant. Right, so let's have a look at the beds quickly. Right then, so like I said, little beds. And what I want to do this year, I want to make the paths narrower and the beds wider. First couple of years is all about getting established, getting used to what's growing. So I've got a crib sheet here somewhere, excuse me. Because I like to plant everything everywhere. I'm not one of these ones that 4 crop rotation and God knows what. To me, if it starts dying back or it doesn't grow 1 year, then that's time to move on. So in here we got the cauliflower, Alschmeer. Pigeons had a heyday with these cabbage and cauliflowers. They're nice. They're nice. Savoy cabbage ventus. That's what I had for Christmas. Got some beetroot in there. Some swede, last of the swede. Bit of dill. Got some brassicas protected. A few beds a bit spare. I didn't have anything to plant out over winter actually, not really. Bean beds, Permanent beans, hazel twigs, hazel sticks from Western Arboretum. Sarpo mirror, 1 bucket left there. Another climbing beam frame. I did some corn in there. I'm not going to do corn again, it's a waste of time up here, it just blows over. Down the front we had wildflowers, and this is where I need to work this year coming. Oh yeah, it is this year now, yeah. I'm going to get some more rhubarb down there, a few more permanent type things, because what I did this year, or just a month ago I think, got 3 red currants in there to go with the, excuse me moving around so much, the 3 black currants out here. I just dug that grass up, it's not normally that tall. What was a brassica bed, not sure what to do with this next year. Some of this will come back. That's it, pigeons had a blooming heyday. Brussels are fantastic up here, so I know this is a good place to grow Brussels. Beetroot Zeppo, nice one. Got a few of these veggie bags, they're good. Carrots, celery, radishes, that sort of thing in there. More brassicas, kohlrabi. These brassicas here, what's left of them, interplanted with onions. So doing a lot of companion planting this year. Kale, looks like pigeons don't like the coloured kale. A bucket, oh someone's had a dig in there, look. Oh, weird, hang on, let's step over. Oh. Look at that, someone's dug up my Nicola potatoes. Let's cover those over. Right. Onions, all different types there. They're the onion sets in there. Ooh. Elephant garlic, shallots, autumn gold, autumn gold cider, autumn giant leeks, they've been good. Some more coloured kale. And I tell you what, it's been so mild. The coriander, golden feverfew, and I've seen some nasturtium growing somewhere, all popping up. And there's like a bit of a herby bed over there with some thyme stuff. So like I say, it's a lovely site. You can park pretty close to it. Can't get much closer than that without parking on the plot itself. Got water butts with hoses, hose either side of the water butts, and there's 6 of these scattered around the 39 plots. And the water's fed from a big lake up the garden centre, and it's pressurised. Brilliant. So there we are guys, that's it.
My help if I turned the sound on, wouldn't it? Sorry, I was chatting away and forgot to turn the forgot to unmute the microphone. That was a great little video from Digwell Green Fingers. Beautiful looking plot, I've got to say. We've seen this a few times, and if you've watched this channel, you've seen it on there. And I'm hoping he's going to keep us updated throughout the year, as I hope everyone will do, of how their allotment is looking throughout the year. We've got another one coming up from his other plot in a little bit later on as well. But what I noticed throughout our video, and it's something I've noticed myself, nasturtiums popping up. We've got nasturtiums popping up. We've got coriander popping up and parsley. And I've even seen some brassica popping up as well. And I'm not sure what it is. I should have taken a photo to share with you. I'll share that with you next weekend, and we'll see what it turns into, because it's in a pot just outside my back door. Now, I would thought somebody was going to join us there, actually. You can probably hear her. I don't know if the microphone will pick her up. Roxy, stop it. A few comments come in. So, Turbo Stream, I only buy compost for seed sowing, so we'll probably stick with John Innes number 1, 2. Yeah, I've tried using my own compost in place of multi-purpose compost, but I found, although my compost gets pretty hot, we still tend to get a few weed seeds pop up. So I prefer to stick with multi-purpose compost when they're at a young stage. We tried peat-free, but not had very good results. What amendments do people add? Now, that's a good question, actually. Something I've been told about as a good use is brick dust. And I experimented with it last year, and it seemed to work quite well, I've got to say. Brick dust is in place of perlite or vermiculite. And that came in. I spoke about this on a podcast. A listener was concerned about the overuse of perlite and vermiculite, and it's been experimented with brick dust. Seems to be pretty good, I've got to say. Another thing I've been adding is biochar, basically small bits of charcoal, and that seems to work very well. I've got to say, it's got to be charged before we use it, but the results are pretty good. Now, here's somebody I haven't seen for a long time. Amanda Joy, Happy New Year. All missed a few weeks, but it's lovely to see you again. Lovely to see you too. I was going to message you at some point and see just if you are okay, but great to see you. Anna Jones, Miracle Grow is the best peat-free I've tried so far. Had a lot of wood chips in it, though. They all do. Yeah, that's something I have found with peat-free. It does have a bit of sometimes unrotted stuff, but that's what we're going to be testing in this experiment throughout 2022. Looks very bare where you are, Digwell. How many plots are there? Digwell answers there's 39 pots. Stuart says, great little video, Digwell. TurboStream, I'm envious of plots that are car accessible. Nice plot, Digwell. Yeah, I've got to say, actually, being car accessible is a big thing I found. My first allotment over in Brighton had absolutely no car access. Well, you could park at the top on the main road, but because it was on a hill and we were at the bottom of a hill and it was a steep hill at that, it made it very difficult. And I was surprised nobody has had a broken ankle or something, because I came close to it a few times carrying a heavy compost or something. The allotment I'm on now does have car access. It's only this time of year when it's wet that it becomes a bit boggy that I don't even try to take it anymore, because I just don't want to get stuck in the mud again. But most of the year, it's absolutely fine. Looking good, Digwell. Alison is having plot envy. Our allotments are like a shanty town. I think that's a good sign of an allotment, in my opinion. Some allotments look beautiful and look very well kept together, but the shanty towns are where the ingenuity is one. I think, anyway. My old allotment over in Brighton was very much a shanty town, and sheds were made out of whatever they could lay their hands on. Our allotments over at Littlehampton is a bit more nicer, is the word I probably want to use, but a bit more together, I guess. But Digwell says we are not allowed sheds and compost bins, so that's a negative. It's interesting how different allotments have different rules, and I always think that shows up a lot of differences in what's happening. Last year, I sieved multi-purpose compost and mixed it with the John Innes #1 for sowing seeds. Interesting. And did it work? Did TurboStream? Yes, okay, thank you. I've had to travel back to Lincolnshire quite a bit recently, but now everything is settled down. I'll be rejoining on a Sunday. Fantastic. Lovely to see you. And she goes on to say, I've missed the gardening chat. Well, we've missed you as well. Richard Lewis, me too. I have 3 flights of narrow stairs to get up to my plot. Yeah, I don't miss that about my Brighton plot. It was, I mean, the paths weren't so narrow, but we had to maintain them, and it was never really maintained well enough. There were often holes, there were often things that shouldn't be in the way, and it made it very difficult. And just anybody that knows Brighton will know how steep the hills can be around there. They were steep, and it like I say, how I never broke an ankle, I'd never know. We can unload from a car at the top gate, but have to park on the road normally. I've got to say, yeah, this is something does annoy me. Be careful, as many JL composts can contain peat. JL, John Innes, sorry, my mistake. Yeah, they're going to be phased out though. I mainly use my bike. It's actually easier than getting my camper van out. Yeah. I used my bike, or been using my bike more to get to the allotment, but I think this 2022 I'll be walking down the allotment a lot to take Roxy out. Rebecca is saying not allowing compost bins are that serious. I agree. I think compost bins and water butts should be on allotments. Um, Again, referring back to my allotment, a couple of years ago, they banned, or not, didn't ban, they said we're only allowed 2 water butts. And I think that's a big mistake, because I think the more water butts any allotment holder has, the better. Especially if they're not using the tap water. We have water pumped to our allotment. If we're not using that, we're using our own rain caught water, all the better. See, I can hear somebody behind me. Sorry. The mix actually worked okay. Well, there you go. I didn't know how well it would work. So interesting. I'm lucky my plot is on my farm, so all access by car and my own loo. Yeah, that does make a big difference, doesn't it? Having access and toilets. Sometimes I think we should. I think I've discussed before about designing our own ideal allotment, what features it should have. Brilliant tour, Digwell, but can I ask, are you willing to do the cooking ones again this year? Most say I enjoyed them and trying to copy them. Yes, Digwell's cooking videos are fantastic, and I get very hungry watching those as well, especially when he sends them in on this show, which I hope he's going to do as well. Our plot is 5 minutes away from home by bike or 10 on foot, so we try not to use the car. My bike has a trailer, which is ideal. Yeah, I mean, I've walked to my allotment from where I am. It's about 30-minute walk, so it's not too far. But it's for me, the main reason I take the van down is I'm often taking stuff down there or bringing stuff back, which is a bit of a big problem. And that's the main reason I drive down. For seed compost, I put multi-purpose for an old food mixer, and then the resulting compost is much finer than any seed compost I have ever brought. That's a good idea. That's a very good idea. An old food mixer to sieve out all that really fine compost. I do try and sieve my compost quite often and break it up when we get it out. How was Roxy with the fireworks New Year's Eve? She was fine. She was fine. She was on guard duty like she often does. It's why I'm surprised she's not in here at the moment. We have 4 communal compost bays, but they are not cared for. No individual bins on this site. Private plots, showcase for the garden centre. Yes, that explains a lot. If it's full of garden centre, they need to showcase them. But actually, I think garden centres should be involved in local allotment sites a lot more, in my opinion. The village I grew up in, there's only 1 garden centre there now. There used to be 3. There's only 1 now. And they were struggling at one point. And in a pot allotments next door to their, in like this empty field just to the north of their garden centre. And all of a sudden, the garden centre started turning a profit. And I think it's purely because the allotments were there. People were going to buy their stuff that they need for their allotments at the garden centre, because why wouldn't you? It's right on your doorstep. And if your spade suddenly breaks when you're on your allotment, it's there. You haven't got to rush around and get it. It's right there. So I think garden centres and allotments should have more to do with it. Everyone, you've probably heard me discuss garden centres and my thoughts on that before many, many times. How I think they are a bit stuck in their ways and need to change. And that's one thing I think they could do. On our plot, they say any new shed must have a water butt. I have 3. I agree. I think every garden, every allotment should have water butts. I'm going to get on my high horse here. I don't understand why in this country we have rain that falls from the sky, water lands on our rooftops, runs down the drain, goes into the sewer, and goes straight out to sea. Whereas we pump perfectly good, fresh drinking water that's been treated with chemicals to a house and we use it to flush a toilet. It doesn't make sense, in my opinion, except for the fact it's old-fashioned. We should be, yes, we need fresh drinking water pumped to our house for drinking, but why can't we use rainwater more for the things that don't need it? That's just me. Always do the cooking videos from Digwell. Fantastic. Want to see more cooking videos. I agree. Something I'm a big fan of. Mornings at the allotment is saying to Anna Jones that is a brilliant idea. And Digwell is also saying, good idea. I have an old food processor. I'll show you the compost bays in a future video. It'd be interesting to see. So, yeah, Anna Jones's idea of using the food processor is a lot of people liking, or a food mixer, sorry. Not sure the wife would let me use ours, but I like the idea. Grow Veg, Anna, I made a track for one of my Ryobi battery-powered movers to fit in place. Place dry multi-purpose in and mow it. Makes the best seed compost ever and only takes 20 seconds. Yeah, I don't know if anybody recalls in 2020, I think it was, I tried making a, what did I call them? I made it out of an old washing machine drum, a riddle, or basically a giant sieve. I was hoping to make it that big and make it easy. It was made out of scrap and stuff I had lying around. I think it had a lot of good points about it, but it didn't quite work in the way I wanted it to. I've still got it somewhere. I basically got a big piece of wood to make a frame, upturned some casters and put the washing machine drum on that, and then tried drilling out some holes. I think it needed bigger holes, but it had certain advantages, and it wasn't a bad idea. I think it would have worked, but just needed a bit more engineering. The idea was just using up scrap that I had at the time. The mixer was already broken, it had a crack in it, so no good for food anymore. There we go. I think we said at the beginning about allotments being shanty towns. Well, some allotments are. And I think this just goes to prove allotmenteers can find a use for anything. Which brings me back to what I was saying at the beginning, when I've been cleaning out a lot of the crap that we have in this house. How I keep hold of it because I think it'll come in useful, and then I end up not using it. I'll try and do a video of a farm before next week if we have any rain-free days from Cornish Heaven. It'd be great to see that, actually. Yes, that would be great. If you do a video, best way to send me a video is go to wetransfer.com. My email address is richard@theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk, and send it via that. Any troubles, just contact me, richard@theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk, or via social media. I dry soaking wet seed compost in the microwave. Again, we got rid of our microwave. We don't have a microwave, so I don't think I'll get away with that. I did think of putting it in my outdoor barbecue oven and just letting that sterilize the compost. But then I figured that might also kill off some of the good stuff too, which I didn't want to do. I found a cheap sieve worked okay. Yeah, that works fine. I think I've got quite a few sieves and they seem to work very well. Another thing that I use, which I find works pretty well, is a chip pan basket. They seem quite solid and strong. Seems to be able to, it doesn't do it quite fine, but it's enough to get it broken down and nice and loose. And I also find a chip basket is also good for when you harvest something like potatoes. Put them in a chip basket and then wash them off, that you're keeping your potatoes free and stopping your sink from getting plugged up. Does anyone sterilize their own compost, and how in small batches? Well, that goes back to what Digwell said about the microwave just there. So, yeah, we know Digwell sterilizes his in the microwave. I thought about doing it in the barbecue, but it hasn't happened. Who knows what's going to happen in the future. I'm not overly worried about sterilizing it, partly because I do tend to use a lot of my compost as a mulch. Microwaving bags of damp composts works for sterilizing it. Yeah, I think a few people are saying about, a lot of people have said about microwaving it in the past. Does that kill weed seeds? Asks TurboStream is asking Digwell if it kills weed seeds by putting it in the microwave. Cornish Heaven, I've got 5 large sycamores coming down in 2 weeks' time with a tree surgeon. Wood will be handy for projects and the wood burner. Yep, never. I know many people will never say no to free wood. If you've got a wood burning stove or open fireplaces, you love it. You won't say goodbye to it at all. I do that as well. Gets rid of scarred fly eggs, says Anna Jones, about using the microwave. That's interesting. I don't have a microwave. I probably won't get one. but I've heard a few people say it. Morning Saturday Allotment says, I sterilise it in the oven, but only for seed sowing. Once the plants go outside, I don't sterilise the compost that they are in. Yeah. I kind of have to agree with Morning Saturday Allotment here, Rebecca. I agree. If they're outside, I don't think the compost needs sterilising. Certainly for seed sowing and even seedling stage, I can see why you want to sterilise it. But when they are older and a bit hardier, I don't think they need it so much. Grow Veg UK says it kills fungus gnats. So that's a tip if you do suffer from fungus gnats, a way to get rid of it. I only want to sterilise for seed sowing. Might try it then. Good enough. Yes, it kills weed seeds as the compost gets over 65 degrees C. Kills vine weevils too. So here's the thing. Why don't we just pour boiling hot water over the compost if you want to sterilise it? Would that not work? Just thinking out loud in my typical mind. Or using a flamethrower, perhaps. Don't do that, actually, thinking about it. I don't want anybody setting their compost on fire if it has some wood in it. Stuart Jackson is asking, this week's podcast, you talked about using wood in the bottom of your beds. Can you use wood chips? So this is Hugel culture that I'm trying out. I'll be honest, I don't think wood chip would work. So Hugel culture, as I understand it, you put some big lumps of wood in the bottom. In contact with the ground, and then you cover it over with compost, and the wood acts as like a sponge, soaking up water, soaking up nutrients, and then as the plants grow in the top, their roots go into this wood that's in there. That's why I'm using big sort of trunks, and meant to work quite well. I know Erica. From Erica's Little Welsh Garden, whatever she calls herself. I get confused sometimes. She's done it in the past, and I've heard about it many, many years ago. The only problem that I've known happen in America, where they used a giant redwood tree trunk to do this, and some floods came in, and it literally lifted up this giant redwood tree from underneath this hookah culture and drove it down the road into some shop windows. But that's a flash flood, so that might happen, but I doubt it where we are. But yeah, no, I don't think wood chip will do, but it's something quite new to what I'm just learning about. Hugel culture is what it's called if you want to look it up. Amanda is saying, I've never sterilised or heard of sterilising compost. Is this something I should be doing? So if you are, so Amanda, if you or not just Amanda, to open it up to everyone, I think if you're buying in compost for seed sowing or seedlings, don't worry about it. It's only if you're using your homemade compost, you might want to think about it, unless you're doing hot composting, of course. Digwell says he only does it for seed compost. Morning Saturday Alignment, I only use it to kill or sterilise to kill fungus gnats. I have a handheld steam cleaner. Will that work? That's a question I'm wondering as well. I would imagine if it would. You can use wood chips, but they break down quicker. You can also use straw, but they will break down even quicker. There we go. So yeah, that's for Stuart using the Hugel culture method. That's what I thought. They would break down quicker. So you can use them, but they will break down quick. That's why I'm going to be using some of the old logs, particularly the ivy. Grow Veg, Richard, if you have a grow room indoor, it is a must to sterilise the compost, as any pests get out of control extremely fast. I only microwave compost from the early seed starts for indoor use. Yeah, I mean, if you found that, then I can see why. I've not had the trouble myself, so I've not been overly worried about it. I don't really get gnats, but then I do replenish my compost and change things around quite often. And I do start off seeds off quite early in my shed. But again, I've not found it. But there again, I do buy in compost for seed sowing. So that's just my opinion, of course. I'm not going to. I don't want to knock any like grow veggies. Obviously, had a different different results. So that's something to think about, certainly. Cornish Evan, I'm using logs, Cauliflower and sycamore, then wood chip from sycamore, and then fill with soil and compost. So Cornish Evan is also giving this hugel culture a try, from what I gather. At this point, shall we have a look at the final show us your plot, which has also came in from Digwell Green Fingers, and let's have a look at his second plot.
Again, that's the Welsh Wales over there, that's the River Severn, and the wind howls up here. Smaller plot than the other one. This one is about 3.5 meters wide by 10 to 12 meters long, and stupidly it's getting shorter because if you see just about there, the bank is falling down, and the council has asked us to stop working the bank because the wall's falling, the bank's coming down. Ironically, most of the bank is made up with let's call it builder's rubble, shall we, concrete, etc., from somewhere else, certainly not from the allotments. So this is my plot 8, West End, right down to the bottom there. So we've got footpath at the bottom, public footpath at the bottom, footpath at the top, and the bit in between is mine. I use this plot mainly for the larger stuff and a few permanent things. So let's have a quick look round. It's blowing a hooligan again, I'm afraid, so you pick up a bit of wind noise, even though I got a dead rat on my microphone. This here is a loam mound. You may have heard me call it this before. A loam mound, and I grow all my, well, some of the marrows and squashes on there. Again, it's gradually falling down, so you hear the power of the rain, etc. Here's a new kale, and there's that kale there, this kale. That's from 2020 that was planted, and it's still growing. Right, and what we got here, I've got the crib sheet again, so give us 2 seconds while I get it out. I forget all these, I've got a memory like a sieve. Right, broccoli, claret, and Calabrese green sprouting in that one there. And what I've done here is an experiment. This stuff on top of the bed is stroach, and it's like a very finely chopped straw. It's quite sharp, treated with iron, and it's supposed to keep slugs away, and I think it has worked. The only problem I got is here, where leaves go over the side of the bed. It's a shortcut for slugs to get in, like, you know. So I've got to keep on top of that. This bed, put my paper away now, haven't I? That's broccoli claret again. So what it is, it's the same one as same vegetable as the stroach, but this time I've used a wool mat, and again, no real slug damage. Pigeons, yes. Slugs, no. Brussels, again, they do quite well up here. Crispus and Brody. And here we have another wool mat bed, and the pigeons have had heyday. I'm not really fussed about this. I'm taking most of these beds apart this year. That's my goal up here this year. As you will see just here. See that the pallet collars have lasted less than, well, just about 2 years. And all down here, oh, where are we getting there? Hidey hole for slugs and pests like that, you know what I mean? Right then. Turn the sheet over. Cauliflower, Alschmeer interplanted with onion radar. And we have some onions at the end here. You know, some I've not put down the onions that I'm growing here. Oh well. 4 different types of cabbage there, and strangely the pigeons haven't touched those. Again, a bit of stroach down. This bed here needs a lot of work on it, and yet again the wood is falling to pieces. Soft neck and hard necks. What have I got? Soft neck is Maddock White, and the hard neck is extra early. Got a couple of compost bins. These are quite good, these ones actually, because you can you slide the slats out if it's not too wet, and get your fork in the bottom there. So you don't have to take the whole bin apart. Strawberries, Maulin centenary in there, and a couple of currant bushes. That was a globe artichoke at the end, that big thing, and that just sort of died. And over there's a rhubarb bed, 2 big rhubarbs in there. And that, guys, is basically it. I mean, like I say, it's a small plot. It does me. It needs a bit of work, but something to do in it. Like I say, we've been told not to touch that bit up there, so that bit up there I am not touching. A bit upsetting really, because some people have put an awful lot of effort into developing the area behind the path, and in the not too distant future it's all being taken off us, fenced in, and what they're going to do is bring the taps down to the path level, which is good, because that's a pretty, I mean, don't look it, but that's not an easy little slope to walk up when you're carrying buckets and watering cans, you know, especially when it's all muddy and slippery like this. There you are, guys. Stop waffling, Steve. Get on with it.
Stop waffling, Steve. Get on with it. No, lovely video again, Steve. And at the end, what you said about the slope with the water, and that's exactly what I found on my old allotment as well. That slope just makes all the difference. Makes it really difficult carrying even something as simple as water butts, or I would carry compost bags and stuff like that. The slope does make it very, very difficult. But looking at that slope, I reckon what the council just needs to do, and I don't know if it's possible, is obviously make the bank up with some earth, but plant some trees to hold it together. Fruit trees would probably be ideal. You tell me what you think on that. And another thing I liked about that was use of squelch. I've seen that product quite a few times lately, and I've yet to try it. Last year I did buy some like compressed straw in pellets, and that's worked fantastic. I've got it out in my blueberries. I've got more of it somewhere. It's something I'm going to be using a lot of. It's really good actually. I found at suppressing weeds, acting as a mulch, like I said. So thank you so much for that, Digwell, and hopefully we can keep up and see yours in 3 months' time, or when we do this again. Of course, in the meantime, if anybody else does want to send a video in of their allotment, of their plots, it'd be great to see, or anything going on their own allotments and plots. As I say, I want to try and catalogue these throughout the year so we can all see how everyone's plots develop and change over the course of a year. I should probably do my own plots, but I feel that's a bit self-indulgent when this show is all about you. On that note, before I come back to the comments, if you are enjoying this show, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, a like, subscribe, click the bell notification to tell us when we're going live, and all that sort of jazz. I know I say that every week. I've got to say it, otherwise I get told off by YouTube and Facebook. I always feel that's a completely irrelevant part, but it saves me getting told off. Now on that, let's go back to the comments. And where did I see? So Digwell is saying, I do it with old seed compost from microgreens as well. Yeah. I can see why people do sterilize them. Again, it's something I've never done, so I'm not overly worried, and I've never felt the need to. But like I say, I do buy in fresh compost every week, and I don't get many problems. So this must be somebody in a Facebook group. Unfortunately, when you're watching on the Facebook group, unless you allow it, it doesn't come up with your name. So whoever you are, apologies for not knowing who you are. And they go on to say, I've used branches from trees and shrubs in my bed, and it's the first time I've got some edible Brussels after trying to grow them for years. Oh, that's interesting. So it does work. This hugelkultur method. I'm kind of excited to give it a try. I've heard about it for years before I even started podcasting. There was somebody I listened to who spoke about it, and it really has. Oh well, I've decided it's time to do it. Rebecca asks how Digwell manages to keep 2 plots. I think determination is the word. They are very small plots. Stuart Jackson says, with both your plots, Digwell, you must be very busy in the spring/summer. The boards are like mine at home, like mine at home, homes for slugs. Yeah, I've got to say, wood, they say, has makes a home for slugs. But again, it's not something I found myself. It could just be me, but I've not. I don't have many problems with slugs and snails, to be fair. Digwell, did you make or buy hoops, and where are they made from, please? From Cornish Heaven. Stuart Jackson says, I would love Digwell's plots. They look amazing. Yeah, they do look amazing, I'm going to say. Small but perfectly formed Digwell. Shame about the other plots. I'll be upping my microgreen production this year. It's something I want to get more of into my diet. And that's aimed at Digwell, but I'm going to actually go on and say I love microgreens. I grow a lot of microgreens. I send microgreens out quite regularly just because they are such a great way of getting fresh, healthy food into you, especially at this time of year when, you know, there's not much going on outside. And I always feel some good, healthy microgreens. Just, I use coriander, basil, cabbage, radish. I use them all when I'm on our windowsill. They grow so easily and they just provide us with a nice little hit of fresh, healthy vegetables. I even put them in sandwiches sometime in between some sort of other filling just to add a bit of interest. Another great vid, Digwell from Beatrice. Anna Jones, 2 great videos. Thanks, Digwell, indeed. I use my wheelbarrow to transport stuff from the main grate when I have to. Yeah, yes. Again, when I come back to my old plot and using the wheelbarrow, it was a bit of a tough one to do. Again, because of a slope, and the mud and the grip and the steps and everything else that just made it difficult. But a wheelbarrow is a great idea. Cornish Heaven, 3mm stainless steel homemade hoops, 5-glass hoops. Rubbish, only lasted 2 years. Oh, it was starting to rain. Cornish Heaven, thanks, Steve. We would love to see your plot, Richard. Okay, I will. I'm trying to do more actual videos for YouTube and Facebook, so which is on the channel. It's something I'm not very organized at getting. Yeah, I film a lot, but I don't always edit them. Which is why I find these live shows much easier to do because it's a bit of planning, but I turn the camera on and I go. But I will try and do a little tour of my plots. I suppose it's only fair. I'm asking you to show me yours. I think I should show you mine as well. And I'll probably feature some in the videos as well. It's Ian McCragan, sorry, who was in the Facebook group. Apologies. The council cut down the trees down to complaints from the houses above. Now the bank is falling down. Plus, we are told not to plant, so it will only get worse. I thought that answers everything. The trees, the roots from the trees are holding the banks together. And now they're not there. The soil's been eroded away, and you'll probably get the blame for it. It's not. It's because the trees have been cut down. Calm down. But as soon as I saw it, I thought trees are what's needed to hold it together. Perhaps some fruit trees that don't get too big will just hold it together a bit better. That's what I think anyway. Oracle says, I disagree, Richard. The show is all about you. If you didn't have it, we wouldn't know each other and join one with each other. So I join in with yours, Richard. Well, I may be the centerpiece, but I want it to be about you. But I will feature. I will do some videos as well of my plot tours. We can still do it next week, and I'll probably do a walk around talking about my plans actually and things like that. Stuart Jackson says you have seagulls. That's probably why I don't get many problems with slugs and snails. I agree. I also have chickens that eat the slugs and snails, just like Cornish Heaven is saying in that comment there. She feeds the slugs and snails to chickens and ducks. Show us your plot at the Veg Grower Podcast. I will do it. I want to. When I'm back in the next studio, I really want to set up like a outdoor camera at some point. I'm just trying to find a camera I can do it with, so I can also skip to outside. You know how I have the different camera setups. We will sort something out. Turbo Stream, I aim to grow more leafy greens this year, so I am with Grow Veg on that one. Yes, microgreens are, in my opinion, one of the easiest, quickest, and best ways just to get some healthy greens in you. Like I say, this time of year, I think they are fantastic because they do just give you that little bit of hit when you need some veg, some fresh, healthy veg. Turbo Streams are where it's at. Mustard cress microgreens in a mashed hard-boiled sandwich with salad cream. Nom, 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 nom. Indeed, this is what I'm talking about. This is why microgreens shouldn't be knocked. Okay, you may not be able to live off microgreens, but they are there to add that punch of flavour and add a bit more fresh food. I'm getting hungry thinking about it. I'm going to have to sow lots of microgreens. Oh, Steve, yes, indeed, yes. The thought of mustard and cress. Indeed. Don't worry, Richard. I will drive 300 miles to film your plot for you. Is it 300 miles? I don't know. I can't remember. I think it's. I'm trying to remember how many miles it is when I go to the NEC. I'm sure I've got enough cameras. I've got enough cameras that I can. I mean, how many have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got about 10 cameras that I could be using, so I've got no excuse. It's literally just the editing I find I struggle with and having the time. But that's my own complaint. Tober Stream, I'm picking off the cabbage leaves from the seedlings that are overwintering in my porch in the meantime. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Cabbage leaves from the seedlings, just to give you a little bit of hit. But that's, again, I think when we spoke about seeds, seed storage a few weeks ago, I said that my old seedlings I tend to use for microgreens anyway, and I actually grow them. I'm trying to think if I've got any. Yeah, I've got a pot here. I've got a pot just here. So I grow them in this size pots to just fill it up with compost, sow the seeds on top. That's actually an old dog food container, believe it or not, washed out, of course. But I find that's just about the right size and just perfect for growing microgreens these days. I used to do it in my seed trays that I think I've shown you before. But I found I was growing so many microgreens, I didn't have those seed trays available for when I wanted to sow some proper seeds. So I moved on to these ones, which dog food containers, just perfect. Probably there and back. Yes, that makes sense. It is probably about 300 miles and plus there and back. Indeed, yeah. Sorry, I forgot about there and back. Kale microgreens are the most nutrient-dense vegetable there is, indeed, and that's why we should also be eating, kale microgreens. Just fantastic. I've got beetroot and a few radish that's self-seeded and now got baby leaves to use. That's something else. I think this time of year we're talking about microgreens. The way the conversation is going, and baby leaves. Let's not forget baby leaves. You can grow those on a windowsill quite nicely. Salad leaves and that sort of thing as well, which is another way of getting fresh, healthy vegetables. And if you choose some of like the winter salad leaves, they will also go quite well outside too. Another thing I like to grow a lot of, particularly at this time of year on the kitchen windowsill, herbs, chives, basil, parsley, coriander, tarragon. I just love growing herbs, having fresh herbs on the windowsill. For me, it's just another great way to be able to get some real nice, fresh, healthy food. Microgreens can be grown on a windowsill. You don't even need compost, just use kitchen towel. That is very true. That is very true. But I do tend to use compost because once I've harvested the microgreens, I then throw that compost in with my chickens so they can look for anything and shred it apart. It builds up on the soil conditions, so it doesn't get wasted. But a kitchen towel, do it on kitchen towel, certainly. Ian McGorgan I love rocket cut and come again. Have you tried growing watercress from seed? It's worth it. Good question, actually. What I found with growing watercress from seed is that I haven't been successful with growing it from seed. I have actually got more luck when I've bought watercress from a supermarket and just taken a piece and rooted that in some water. Much more successful, I've found. Whereas the growing it from seed just I struggled for some reason. I think it's because it dries out too quickly in my area. It does like a lot of water. I doubt I will actually plant the cabbages out. I'm using the young leaves as you would lettuces. I see no problem with that. It all adds to that great taste and flavour. Now I haven't put this up much this week, but the link is just going up if you do want to zap yourself in and appear on the screen. We're in the last 10 minutes, so if you want to click on that and just appear on the screen and tell me a bit about your plot at the moment. Now, let's get rid of that comment quickly. Something I should say, actually. So I've got to admit, my garden particularly is looking a bit bare, a little bit sparse at the moment because it's this time of year. The clay soil that I have is just not that conducive to growing a huge amount of food in. And it's a bit of a mess as well because I've been renovating so many different things lately. I've got so much rubbish piling up here, there, and everywhere that things are just a little bit messy. So I take my hat off. I admit that is messy, but these are the things to think about. Turbo Stream might try micro leaves of kale and dig well. Yeah, I've got to say I'm a big lover of these microgreens. I've got to say, I remember when we went into first lockdown, I was literally saying then, go sow microgreens because they will turn around very quickly. Everyone was panic buying at the time. And I said, go get microgreens. You'll turn them around quickly. They're not going to give you a huge amount of food, but they will give you some flavouring. And more importantly, I think at that time it gave people something to do. And although I've always tried microgreens, I'm really making a big effort lately, certainly since then, because I found just how good they really are, and we eat a lot of them. Rebecca is saying, I must get into microgreens more. I'm so late to this party. Yeah, you must get into them. They are so tasty, and the right flavours, the right combinations, you won't regret it. I grow the cress in a closed bottom tub or tray so it does not drain. Yeah, I was trying to, well, I grow my watercress in an old sink that's in the garden. It's got a plug in, and that holds onto the water really well during the summer, especially. It's just getting it to germinate from seed is where I had trouble with. But once it was growing, once I got it into a nice pot of, well, a seed, a load of compost in this sink, it grew fantastically well. Agree, Rebecca. It's been a good experiment over winter so far. This is with the microgreens. Sorry, I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, I've got to say, if you're not growing microgreens, just go and do it. Seriously, just find some old cabbage seeds that need using up and sow them. Don't forget the YouTube, etc. message. I think I've done it, haven't I? But if I haven't, don't forget to click like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And don't forget to click the bell or get notified whenever we go live. If I don't say that, I get told off. So if I haven't said it, apologies. But if I have said it, apologies also. I smash that like button. Yeah, please do. And like celery, watercress is a marsh plant. Yes, it needs a lot of water. In fact, watercress it kind of grows in rivers. I've seen it growing in Hampshire, particularly Winchester, where there's a river running through. And you see this watercress just growing out the bottom of the river. A lot of people are worried about watercress being in stagnant water, but I think if you're growing out at home, as long as you water it regularly, it should be okay. It doesn't need to be completely submerged, like I see it in Hampshire, but it does need a lot of water, and it's just like celery, also needs a lot of water. Cornish Evans says can be grown in streams, which is where I often see it in Hampshire, also growing in streams. which I think Hampshire is quite well known for its watercress growing. I say, if anybody ever goes to Winchester and you, particularly May time, May onwards, you see it. You walk into town, and if you know where the river is at the bottom of the town, you can actually see it growing there. I know not anybody. I don't think many people are near Winchester, but if you ever do go to Winchester, you're into it, do go have a look, and you really would like to see it. My friend, you'd to grow it in a stream, and he had to get a license to sell it. Yeah. Yeah, I think you do have to have a license if you're growing it in a stream to sell it. But I think watercress is fantastic anyway. Watercress soup with some sourdough. Yum, yum, yum. Yeah. Get me hungry already. Anyone got suggestions for early potato varieties for good flavour? Oh, good question, actually. Early potato varieties. I'm trying to think. My mind's just gone blank. Half the trouble with doing it live is that my mind has just gone completely blank of every single potato variety but King Edward. For first starters, give me a second and it will come to me. But if anybody else has any suggestions for a good variety of first early potatoes, let us know in the comments in the last few minutes to go. Stop it. At Rebecca, talking about watercress soup there. Could you grow watercress floating on a water butt? It could be done, I guess. I've not tried it myself. But I guess if you have a polystyrene box, you could probably grow it floating in the top. But yeah, I think it can be done. The only trouble is, as you use the water out the water butt, your watercress is going to go lower and lower down, and then you probably end up with it right at the bottom where it's difficult to get to harvest. Just a thought there. So personal choice from Digwell, Casablanca and Winston. And Stuart Jackson is saying Rocket, and Cornish Heaven Swift. That's going to be a future live show talking about what we can grow, what potato varieties we can grow, actually. It's Vitacress that grows it in Alresford, where the watercress train goes to Alton. My old boss grew it by the river, but got liver fluke. That's what I was thinking of when talking about growing watercress. Liver fluke is a risk if it's stagnant water, as I understand it. But if you're growing it at home, I believe you're less likely, or there's virtually no chance of it happening. Watercress train line, yes, of course, Alresford. That's exactly what I was also thinking, which is near Winchester and Alton. Watercress train line. We should probably go and do a trip on that watercress train line at some point for a bit of fun, as it's to do with what we're talking about. If the butts are linked, then use one downstream, then boom, boom. LOL. Yeah, good point. It could work. I'll be worried personally about it being a bit stagnant low. That's another thing I'm just thinking of. So somebody red lights just suddenly out the corner of my eye there. Yeah, I'll be worried about it being in stagnant water, but I guess in my sink, because I'm adding water in all the time, it's fresh water that gets replaced all the time. Well, on that note, I think we're going to start wrapping it up. There's far too many distractions when I'm live in here. I haven't got a curtain up in this room yet. We will be back next week, back in the proper studio, so the phone line will be open. Be able to zap in. Now, next week, I want to find out about how you go about planning your growing season. And we're going to sort of look at designing the ideal garden planner at the same time. With a few features that I feel are necessary. I think I spoke about this before. Get your thinking caps on. Get any photos or videos of how you plan your garden, how you plan your allotment over to me as well. And we'll go. Look forward to doing that next year. I think we're all going to be planning over this next couple of weeks. So it's going to give us a good idea and a few tips. So just finally, before we go, Cornish Heaven is saying, my friend uses to grow watercress in water cascade full into his pond. Something I was thinking about doing as well. I'm not allowed a pod, but I like the idea. Sean James Cameron, great show. Look forward to seeing the van. I'll try and get a photo for you all next week. Bye, Richard and all from Adrian. Bye, all. See you soon. Thanks, everyone. Enjoyed the show. Pleased you enjoyed it. Another good chat about gardening with like-minded folks. See you all next week. Good chat from Cornish Evan. Good. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you as always. Great show. See you next week. Bye all. See you next week. And top show from Graham Arnold. You're all very, very kind. So I'll be back on the podcast tomorrow night and back next Sunday, 6 o'clock in the studio. Until then, please take care on that one and this one. Take care.